What's up? What's up? What's up?
There
What's
we
happening,
go.
guys? Boom! It's Rolling Thunder, episode 15. We made it, dude. What's going on, fellas? Happy Friday, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been a journey, always busy,
Yeah.
having fun. You know, same old, same old. How you guys been?
It works all I know, man.
Who's this guy above me right here? Who is
Yeah, I
this
was
guy?
about to say because
Who's that
Casey
guy?
actually
Where'd he
drug
go
in
from?
by the wire, and as we were just saying a second ago, yeah. Hey Casey, this is DJ. This is DJ with Ohio Generators. What's happening? It's our guest today.
Hey, Casey.
Good to meet you, man.
Yeah,
I
thanks for
heard
coming
some,
on, DJ.
I heard some stuff about
Thank
you
you.
from Andy. Mostly positive.
Yeah, mostly positive. Yeah.
Honestly,
He was, dang, I wasn't gonna bring that up this early in the show. We're freaking 1 minute and 10 seconds in, and you're like, Andy's throwing jabs in the background.
Throwing me under the bus
Yeah,
already.
At least
Come
it
on.
wasn't Casey talking smack, it's Andy talking smack. But what's going on today, man? Like I said, you're we're friends with Andy, so you're recommended to bring us on, and we're going to do an interview for you about for the first half of the show. Let Andy take the lead on that guy, and then we'll do maybe how do alternators work? How does that sound? With you?
Yeah, we can do that. That'd be great.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, DJ, what got you into car audio and alternators, working on them?
So when I was about probably 14 or so, I remember watching Steve Mead's videos, you know, his hair tricks and all that, and I was like, oh man, I want to do that. And when I turned 16 and got my first car, it wasn't a week before I had a system in that, and I had two power acoustic Mofo 15s on a Boss Audio amplifier. I thought it was pounding.
Boss.
Heck yeah. The
But,
problem
you
was
know,
dim the headlights, man.
Oh yeah, dim the headlights, the dash lights, everything
All the lights.
That's all you
all the
need,
lights.
you know? That's
on
it.
16 gauge power cable too from Home Depot.
16 gauge.
On 16 gauge.
Pushing the limits there. Been
Oh,
there,
like
man.
home power
Well,
wire.
I get a whole roll of yellow for $17. Get it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I did something similar on my race car, and at the time, it was actually Home Depot where I got it too. I was like, I needed to wire in like 5 gauges in my dash. I was doing all digital gauges. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have a sweet race car with all digital gauges. And then I went to Home Depot. There was 3 colors of wire, and I got each one. I was like, I'll never forget, you know, all this wiring I did behind the gate. So then I go back later, like a couple of years now that I'm doing like a same level and stuff. And I'm like, I don't remember what any of this was at all. Like, I'm just like, this is a nest. Like, just delete. Just threw it in the trash can.
That's it. That's it.
My stepbrother at the time had a like an extension cord that he cut. Power wire.
Grandma's lampshade, bro. That's
Yeah.
OFC.
Hey, you gotta untangle them RCAs, you got new speaker wire, you know what I mean? Whatever works sometimes, but
I didn't
Yeah.
even use RCAs. I used speaker wire connected to an RCA connector.
Like, just at the end,
that's
yeah.
a homemade Kissel, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome, you know?
It was all.
That's
It
So
sounded,
this
I thought
Ohio Generator, tell me more about them. I'm affiliated with them too, like yourself. When I heard that you are working for them, I was like, wow, that's freaking awesome. 2 guys from Team SP Loud, which is pretty much what the affiliation is with, because we're partners with them. And none other than DJ actually working on it and working with Tom. So tell me a little bit about their history and how it is working for them.
So, as far as I know, me and Tom talked briefly about it, and I think he said 78 is when he incorporated building alternators. But I know he did it like a year or so before he incorporated. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's what if I remember right.
Yeah, it was like right around kicker time, 73 in the 70s. For a
Yeah,
long
yeah,
time.
right around in the 70s. So like 40 years he's been doing it. He actually invented the high output alternator because nobody before him really had a high output alternator. It was all just factory rebuilds, and he's the one who invented the way to make it the high output style of alternator, which we know today is, you know, the standard slot one high output, which today is more hairpins. Like this style is a hairpin.
Okay. Yeah, see, that's the stuff I want to learn.
He's
You know, the
prepared.
difference. Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, I got all kind of stuff here.
That's awesome.
I think you're our first guest that's had like props ready to go. Like,
Yeah, I gotta have stuff ready
Yeah.
to go.
It's because I told him to come on. It's like, you got to do it semi-legit. But hey, he did that on his own there. He just knew. It's awesome. No, I appreciate it, TJ. And what's that hanging behind you back there, other than the sign? What's that?
Oh, this one is the X's Power, the XV 3400, the lithium battery. It's a 12 volt starting.
Lithium. Okay, I was gonna
12 volt
say,
starting.
I can't be no AGM hanging on your wall.
No.
Your microphone's
Right
kind of
out.
breaking up, Andy.
Am I really breaking up? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
It's okay. We got a few people chiming in. What's up, guys?
So if you don't mind, DJ, kind of what's the difference? And for everybody watching, what makes the high output alternator a high output alternator? Like, what's the biggest difference between what you find in like your factory car and like something that you guys provide?
So technically, the stuff that's rated from like 220 to 280, 290, whatever their other manufacturers rate them at, they're all the same stators. So they all use this stator, but they either use it in a 128, which is a small case 128, or a 138. This is a 160 amp, which can be converted to a 320. Then there's a 220 amp, which is a larger one, and that one can't be rewired. Some of them can, most of them can't. The 220s, pretty much the only thing they do is put a smaller pulley on it and a larger rectifier, and it'll do 280, 290 peak. But that's not a high output alternator. The true high output alternators use their own stators and their own parts, basically their own rotors.
Okay.
For a true high output alternator, one that's not labeled as high output,
Not just rewound and all that.
Yeah.
not just rewired from a Y configuration to a Delta configuration. That's not what a true high output alternator is.
So are they changing like now I understand it being conductive and everything inside the alternator. Are they changing the impedance of the coil? It's pretty much inside of it, or can you first look way you look at it, or no? Because you're talking about the way you're wiring it. Is it how it's going to be output, or is it series needed inside, or what do you mean?
So the stock configuration, I'll show you. I'll try to get this up close here. This is a Y configuration.
Okay.
Like
And then what?
or is that what we're talking?
This is a hairpin alternator, a hairpin stator. So it's two three-phase alternators, basically making a square phase. Commonly called a six-phase alternator, but six-phase is a wrong terminology. But back to the stator thing, you just take, basically it's a Y configuration from the factory, and if you want to high amp it, quote high amp it, it'll be reconfigured. These wires will be reconfigured to a Y configuration from a Delta configuration. That's pretty much basics of how their cheaper alternator companies work, because it's to make a true high output alternator, parts cost to get good bearings, to get good parts for, let's say, a 350 amp large case, you're going on the limits of $350
In parts.
just in parts cost.
Mm-hmm. That's not labor, painting it, nothing.
That's nothing else.
Yeah.
So-
And so I'm assuming though, and I don't even know most of the brands of it. So I'm assuming we would be discussing as far as the other brands sopping them up. That would be like your eBay or those high output alternators. I'd be assuming it'd be like an OE rebuild that's been reconfigured. I'm assuming and stuff like that for the most part.
A lot of your eBay alternators usually aren't even high amped at all. They're just a small pulley thrown on them, and that's pretty much it.
Oh, wow.
I think it's
And that can
faster,
cause issues
that's
with
it.
belt slipping and all kinds of stuff like that.
It can cause issues. It can overspin. It can overspin the alternator, blow the rotor apart. It can cause all kinds of issues. But usually, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't cause that issue. But it can. It can cause that issue, if I would say.
probably
Now,
longevity too. You're not.
Yeah,
that much.
running it wide open all
Definitely.
the time. Now, so how did you start gathering knowledge on the electrical systems? I think was this a hobby that turned into a profession, or is it something you learned when you came on board, or how did that go into it?
Well, about 2 years ago or so, I started buying books on rebuilding Denso hairpins and rebuilding like slot wound alternators, Denso old slot wounds and Denso hairpins. And I bought like 5 different books, and I read all the books, and then I bought more books on rebuilding, and then I bought more books, and then I was like, okay, I have all this knowledge. And then I just kind of gave up for a little bit, and and then I went to Tom to buy parts because I had a Lincoln Mark 8 that I wrecked recently. That's totaled, so don't
You
need that
wrecked
anymore.
Oh no.
Yeah, I wrecked that. Hydroplaned, went no wall again.
Damn.
Terrible.
Damn.
But nobody had an alternator for that car. Like nobody did. And I was gonna make my own. I had my own design written up for my own case, my own renderings. You know, I was gonna get my own case manufactured and make a hairpin basically fit into that motor because the intake is like right behind the motor, and you can't fit a hairpin in there. So you pretty much had to custom make it for it to work.
Right.
And that's when I got on top with Tom. I said, "Hey, look, can I buy some parts off of you?" And he was like, "What are you using it for?" I was like, "Well, I had this idea for my Lincoln Mark 8, and I want to build a high output alternator for it." He goes, "Oh, well, give me a call back later on, and we can talk about it." So I gave him a call back. Actually, he gave me a call back, and we talked about it. I told him I had my own case design and all that jazz. And he was like, "Yeah, I'll sell you parts. Come and get them." So he sold me parts, and I went and got them, and nothing worked in that car. It was too cramped, too tight. So I was gonna make it work, but then I wrecked the car, so couldn't really do that anymore.
Jeez. Well, at least you, through all that, you built a relationship with Tom, and now you have a job there. You know, so
Yep.
you're doing what you like.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry about your Lincoln, man. That thing was nice. Didn't that have like the Mustang engine or something like that?
It had a similar engine as a Mustang Cobra does. It's not the same engine. Similar engine, different cams, you know, different crank, different pistons, different rods. But it's a similar 4.6 dual overhead cam engine.
Yeah, a lot of people soup them up. They're still pretty sweet, man. I've seen some people do some cool stuff with those things, man. I think your mic's still choppy one. I think that make the music's kind of choppy too. Before we get
Really? Oh,
yeah,
no.
I'm sorry. But what were you saying, there, DJ?
good.
Yeah, mine was pretty nice. It only had 123,000 miles on it, and I had some stuff done to it, dual exhaust intake, you know, the bigger throttle body.
That back that went out.
It's the Panther platform, isn't it?
No, it's the same It's the same frame that the older Thunderbird was on.
Yeah.
Basically, it was a Thunderbird and a Mustang Cobra mashed together. But it was also faster than a Mustang Cobra.
Oh, you're talking about the front wheel drive V8 car.
No, it's a.
They're rear wheel drive.
The Mark 8.
Yeah.
Mark 8 is rear wheel drive.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
They had a couple. Yeah, they're pretty
Mike
sick.
was muted. I don't know what happened.
They had the cool round dash in them and stuff.
Yeah.
Everything for the time was round though. My grandma had a mid '90s Cougar with a 5.0 Windsor motor in it too, and I wanted it for a while, but she ended up going through the family or something like that. But heck yeah, man, this thing's pretty cool. So you took in. Now you build alternators for Ohio generators. What you do full time now is a thing, or
no, not full. I live 3 hours away from them, actually 3.5. So I was going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, staying down there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now since I crashed my vehicle, I haven't been there in about 2 weeks. I haven't been there because I don't have a reliable way to get there. I do have a Grand Cherokee, but it's not. You know, I wouldn't trust it to go. 3 hours away.
It'd be like that sometimes. Do you have a big build going on right now or anything, or no?
I'm doing. I have a DC Audio 5.0K, a Grand Cherokee, 2 X's power batteries, high output alt, and a single MTX 9500 12. Gonna go 2 12s in a sealed box.
Sick. I bet it sounds great, dude. Those 9500s are pretty awesome subwoofers, man.
They're actually my favorite woofers.
He had some bigger systems too. Tell him about the Rockford. Tell him about the Rockford.
Yeah, I had
a Rockford guy.
Oh, I had 5 of the Rockford 19s that I wasn't going to do a building. But I ended up selling those. I only have 1 of those left. And I ended up bringing 1 of those to one of Andy's meets. And everybody couldn't believe how tall it was because, they're
huge.
They're 2 foot deep.
Yeah.
And people don't know, like, holy crap, that thing's freaking humongous.
There's a blown one at my shop, and I kind of want to get it, even though I don't think you can get a recon kit for it.
No, you can get a recon kit for them. Not from Rockford, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the 2 spiders and all that.
Yeah.
How big in
How many spiders are on there?
It's 2 spiders.
2? I thought, yeah. Every time I picture it in my head, it just gains more and more spiders.
Bobby B.
Yeah, it just gets taller and taller.
It gets taller and taller.
I mean, dude, people. I saw somebody talk smack on one the other day because it was like 4 that didn't break a 160 or whatever. But I was like, man, I bet you there's a one musical like 159.9 or whatever, and like those things. If you see, I love all the boxes they do where you see the backside of them, they're just throwing. And you're like, man.
Yeah, mine would have been moving. I played like 7, 8 hertz on it, and it was moving like that. It was
Insane.
I don't know, kicker 2400 too.
And this guy's crazy. Man. He's like, let me show you what this sub does at 9 hertz. I'm like, what?
9? Yeah. Casey demos it.
Yeah, 7. That's what. Yeah.
Is that in a box or just for you or what?
No, that was in I had a custom box that me and my buddy. Well, I designed it, and then my buddy Seth Duffy built it. He had a big oval port tuned to 29, about 9 cubic foot after all displacements.
You made the hammer lows.
Yeah. Well, it did. At 7 hertz, it was doing a 123, which isn't, that's not anything to brag about.
It's hard to make acoustical pressure that low, right?
But considering it was in the back of a Jeep Liberty with the seats up, so I could still have, people sit in the back of it.
Don't you dare say that, El Fuego. I hope it's a lie.
No fall OSS meet. Oh man, with the whole Delta. Speaking of Delta, DJ, all this Delta stuff going on.
Delta.
Let me tell you.
What happened to the Y configurations?
Yeah.
That joke almost
right at first.
I really do, because then I get to see everybody. I didn't go to Slam this year. I didn't go to Sundown, but I never went to one of those yet. But still, I want to see everybody.
Sundown is so good.
Yeah. Okay. Dude, they'd see me coming down there with all kicker. They'll be like, "What are you doing here?" You know what I mean? You lost.
Dude, kicker's growing again. I think in the SPL community, like I see a lot more people warming up to it. So like every time there's a kicker build, like usually there's a little line going on.
Especially with like Sharton on them and people like him.
Like the bigger kicker builds, like people love it.
Oh yeah, Cube. Yeah. Cube was dominant. Everyone's like, there's all these other builds here. I'm like, but this is like the loudest one. I'm just, I'm sorry. I got a few demos.
I'm just gonna hang by the windiest build.
Yeah, it's probably yours.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, or the one that's playing the longest. That is.
Do what?
The one that's playing the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were crazy. They were playing on battery power majority of the time. It's crazy because they were running their alternator, and I think it was spiking over, shutting the amps off. I think that was the second year they had it running. At least the second year that I heard it. But yeah, you got to be able to demo long at Slamology. Otherwise, man, you're going home baseless.
Dude, my truck played full tilt the whole weekend. Man, I loved it. Casey did too. Oh no, he blew subs that weekend.
When?
At Slamology.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Talking about Sundown.
No.
I was happy I walked out with only blown tinsel leads that I replaced eventually, so I did good, given the circumstance of like 5 hour of continuous demos. It lasted.
Logan was there. This guy got one of the first demos from me at Slam. Actually, it was right after I put my alternator back on because my alternator fell off.
Hogan's he's awesome.
I actually have his alternator. I rebuilt his alternator for him. Good dude. Real good dude.
See, I haven't had any issues with mine, but I don't, abuse it, But I do push it, to some limit.
You have good taste, Bobby B.
Yeah, Bobby B is the dude.
He's the undisputed OG.
Yeah.
You got the same taste in guys?
Yeah, same taste in men.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I can't. So, CJ, or Casey, I read your name for some reason. Casey, what have you been up to anyway? Anything new?
No, I'm actually selling my subs, going on to the next thing. So
I seen that. So what are you planning on upgrading to? More subs, more power? Yes?
No. Same amount of subs, just I can't really say yet. So until it's official.
Okay.
But
secret.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, why are these baffles square? Don't ask.
Yeah, don't ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't sold me. I'm feeling pretty cheap, and then like normally, anytime I've sold a system like my older Zenny Sound setups or anything like that with 18s or 15, they've literally sold in less than 24 hours. And these, like, they're out of stock everywhere, so I figured, this is a good time to sell them. But like no one. It's crazy. They're not even broken in yet, really.
They're probably broken in, bro. You've been playing 15 hertz on them. They're broken in.
Yeah, it doesn't take
it
too
seems
long.
Like they keep gaining. Like the more you play them, it keeps gaining them.
Absolutely, especially with the kind of drivers you have, where they have all that kind of suspension dampening. It's going to take some time, and you'll gain and gain and gain, and then you'll hit that threshold.
Got that
and you'll start losing.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Start going in reverse. Like as you get older, you get shorter.
Yeah.
That type of shit.
I noticed with mine from playing those lows all the time that my Spider's old to begin with, and just I abuse the crap out of it. I'm going past mechanical. I'm going to whatever. And on higher notes, I can hear it. It's like it doesn't keep it as straight as it should. It's not rubbing, but it just doesn't sound as tight as it once did. It could be the enclosure, but I think it's me. 14 hertz, 16 hertz. It's.
I can't wait.
Tired of this, Grandpa. And you're like, that's too damn bad.
Too damn bad. Yeah. We're playing 3-6 Mafia, grandson. I don't care. You're gonna like it. No, but yeah, we're playing late night tip, Paul. But no, heck, mine just getting louder, man. I don't know. I need to get the other 7500 back on them, but dude, my system just gets louder, man. I need to not mess with it, and just enjoy with it. Put the other 75 back on it and just pound.
Yeah, it needs that other amp. Ask Scott about my Resilient Sounds break-in processes.
What was your Resilient Sounds break-in process? 15 hertz with the doors open?
Sprinkling the surrounds.
Yeah, man.
Immediately out of the box.
And I'm like,
I can't.
Dude, I mean, like deck one, he just folding them, bro. I'm like, but it just blew my mind though.
They just took it.
Yeah, they took it.
That's the thing. I had to break in a sub for my buddy Justin Molyneux because he wanted to break in one of his Sundown U's with the blue SPL drop-in kit, and he just was replacing the one, and his other ones were pretty broken in, and I don't know, he kind of wanted to go by the book, so we broke it in. I broke it in myself, and I threw it on a ZK or ZX 550.2, and I was clamping 500-600 watts. This thing is moving this much at like 20 hertz, barely moving. Like the cone is getting hot from clipping, and it's not cooling itself because it's not moving. I'm like, oh my god, this is terrible. So I literally had to break it in, like literally 8 hours, low volume, dumb, barely even moving. Then I threw a bigger amp on the CX 1800. Then it started moving, but then I was putting 1200 watts to it, 1500 watts to it, and then it started to break in. It took a while.
Yeah, on the Powerhawk subs, when we pulled the TS parameters, they did it for a couple of days at first, but they were really pretty much broken at the first thing. We did 1,000 watts RMS on the AMM one at 20 hertz, and just for like 30 minutes to an hour each sub, just outside, just just walk away from it, and come back, hope it didn't fail, and in all reality, like after we did that, it was like the first hour of each sub, pretty much. Like for what we pulled that versus like a couple days later, same stuff. But let's show it. Yeah, dude, the music's tight. I love the music. It's like Tron. It's like a Tron knockoff. Like
I know the music. I like the break-in process because it's so crazy to think like, oh man, my lows aren't as strong as I want them to be, and then you just keep playing.
It just gets better.
It just keep gaining and gaining and gaining, and then you do a 61 at 24 hertz, and you shit your pants.
Yeah,
I told you to open up that door months ago. Your meter and sealed at 20 hertz. I'm like, what is this guy doing?
I had the windows down. And I put it on the gauge cluster so I could see it while I was driving on the way home.
Yeah, I see that. That's cool. Yeah. Just stick your head right on the dash. That's how you get that score.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy, though. I bet that system plays with authority. Anything over 58 at 20-some hertz, man, that's got some authority.
You just
They're
wait.
fun to sit in. Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
He's got really good bandwidth too. I'll give that to those ZB6s. They have a really good musical range also. Like I'm not going to take away from that. That's one thing I brag on mine. Like, oh, mine's sounds amazing on music, but it's like, dude, his is windy as fuck. And then I'm gonna drop that bomb, and then it also sounds good on music. Especially those crescendo UNs and the doors, man. They're pretty much full range, dude. Like you could literally just blast the doors, and it's like a full range sound.
All right, picks it up a little bit.
The UN?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
DJ, what kind of mids do you run?
I run Rocker Fosgate,
Like the
8-inch punch. Yeah, the 8-inch punch right now, but I'm swapping them out to my T5 set.
Nice.
To do a T5 set.
I saw
T5s
those.
are nice.
They look pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
The
mind-
T5 set?
He's
Yeah,
a
T5
big
is sick.
Rockford Fosgate fan, as you can see. So you guys.
The
will be friends.
T5s are sweet.
Yeah.
And I've had them for probably a year now, and I haven't even opened them yet.
Yeah.
They're, I'm going all sound quality. I like the loud. I love it, but for a daily driver, I just can't have it.
Yeah.
Either way you go, it's going to be expensive.
Sure. I can talk about Rockford all day though, man. I'm a big 90s. I do like DSM to the gray power amps really, but I've had a lot of all that in between. Yeah.
You
I
got
kind of outgrew it though, man. Like, you know, I couldn't A, from having my business standpoint, and then B, dropping $1,000 for a T4000 just ain't realistic at a time. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be
I
buying.
think the day you grew out of that is when you clamped 1,000 watts on.
Yeah, we put it. I'm like, I am getting every bit of 4,000 watts out of this T4K, right? 1,200 watts at 6 ohms. Woo!
That's
Well,
crazy.
now Rockford
And
got the BDCP line, so it's
Yeah.
a lot better.
Yeah, you just got to
Those are
wire
so
even
thick,
lower.
man.
That's all.
Let's say if you're still
No.
rising to 6 ohms, though, if you're still rising above the 2 ohms, though,
I wish
Right.
I had
I
like 5K
my-
BDCP though.
that's one thing I agree, Antone, is that I don't really miss the amps. I wish I didn't sell my T2s, bro. I love those T2s. That's amazing subs. Shout out to Andre at RA Audio for making me like the dopest T2 recones that like, I think have ever been made. But
Oh, wow.
Nice.
and
That's
I-
pretty cool.
Yeah, and I sold them for 4 resilient sound 15s. Whoops. No, I had a great setup though. It was a badass no wall setup.
Oh,
Is that
that's
the
good,
last
though.
setup you had in there before this current one for those 415s?
I sold the 415 setup, and then I had a couple. I had the Stroker
Single
15
10.
little.
For a
Yeah, I
few
did the same.
months.
I had the Lightning Audio Strike 10. I had a few stuff in between, but it was. I sold that 415 setup right when we were starting to come into fruition with Power Rock stuff. It kind of went hand in hand, and I sold it
Right.
at the same time on stuff.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah. The sad part about the T2s and all that stuff now, though, I got DJ agrees, like all those badass subs. Even it's really just old subs in general. Like if you buy these things, even if they're in like brand new in box, they're at the point now where they're gonna, if they don't need a recon, they're gonna need a recon shortly after you use them for a while.
Yeah, like the
And
old
that's-
ones, they just deteriorate.
Yeah, like my T2s were like perfect when I got them. Well, all the glue for the surround to the aluminum cone came undone. You know what I mean? So
That's-
it's like
100% true.
I always
That's
had
the reason I like
problems with
amps.
the Punch series with like
Mhm.
their dust caps. They just crack at the littlest tap. You just get a nice little spider
Mhm.
right in the,
Yeah.
in the plastic of it.
That's another thing with like my old MTXs. I have the 9500s in 10 inch, 12 inch, and 15 inch. I have a 15 inch sitting over the other side of the room actually, and they're all from 2003. Well, my 10 inches are in the box, like the original packaging, brand new, never power to them. I took them out of the box just to look at them. I put my finger inside the spider and I broke the spider through.
you're like,
Oh,
And I was
Yes.
like,
well, just like I
Riddle.
bought that a really high end, which I've had a bunch of sets of now, the ADS 320 IS component set, and I'm like all excited to get to use them, and I go to put them in the Q forms. Put them in the Q. No, we'll do the alternate part in a little bit, Joe. But when I go put them in the Q forms thing, and the spider just came unglued from the basket, like the whole spider just off the. I'm like, what in the crap, dude? But yeah, that's the reason I like old amps, not old speakers anymore, really.
Right.
And as Casey, like my stroker was amazing for months. I really loved the stroker, but it came to the point where like it just needed a recone because the surround was literally just turning to dust, and it was the ribbon surround.
Yeah.
Like, it just turning to dust.
That's,
Yeah,
that's
but-
like how those
Really
old
going
those old house speakers that I picked up the other day for free. Inside those mega tubes, it has like foam. I literally just barely touched it with my finger, and I let go, and it like literally put an imprint in it, like it's just gonna fall right apart. I'm like, okay, we're not touching that again. Looks good, sounds good.
I'm gonna say I'm RF and kicker personally. We got 25 hertz the life asking old school
14.4.
MTX RF or kicker. Andy Scott, astronaut guy, and the DJ. If we're talking about big power amps, I still have to go to Rockford. But if we're talking about everything in between, I'm a kicker guy now too. Like they've been really good to me. And it's, all honesty, as a Rockford guy, the old school kicker stuff is actually harder to come by than the Rockford stuff. I can throw a rock in a mile distance and come up across some old Rockford amps. Ask Casey, I got 3 power amps in a day in a 3-mile radius. I can't do a kicker amp that way. But
Man,
what
were
about you
going
guys?
crazy there for a minute, getting all
Somebody-
that kicker stuff. And
Yeah,
that's
no.
cool.
If you think I still don't look on Marketplace for stuff that's new minty,
Yeah, I would say Rockford too, just because that's the stuff that's going to hold up today, I think, and it's available. And if you blow something, you don't have to redesign or rethink your system for another amp. You know, if you want to. So
Yeah.
I would have to say Rockford as well. And then I've seen Scout with these amps, and I've had Rockford amps and Rockford studs, and everything I've had from them has been pretty cool. MTX is one of those things that's like
I've never had much MTX stuff ever.
I've
Yeah.
had MTX and it's been cool, but the new MTX just I don't know. I don't have mixed feelings about MTX. I've never really dove into it head first.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I haven't had enough experience with the MTX. I'd seen DJs when I first met him. He came with the 15 at 9500. Supposedly that's like one of their better ones, like the L7 of the kicker.
It was sick at the time. I remember being
Yeah.
a huge sub. I saw the ads.
I could never afford that.
Yeah,
He's
I
gonna
could
bring
never
it out.
afford that. I always
But-
liked MTX back in the day too because they had the marketing with the ladies on it. It was like MTX by Sonic, all those two. It was like boobs and a sub. Like that's it.
Yep. Pimp My Ride. You know what I mean? It was like the sub
look
that
at
you
that.
would never think that you can get, and now
That's like
they
a
sell
15-year-old sub. 15-year-old subwoofer.
Yep, there it
Yeah,
is.
it's pretty tight.
Yeah. Dude, his chest hair curled 2 times when he picked that subwoofer up.
No, they're only. I weighed it. It was like 59 pounds.
Wow.
So
That's pretty
Cool.
massive.
it's not bad for being from 2003.
No, it was ahead of its time. You know what I mean? You didn't see drivers that big. You know
That's what
I
I
mean?
tell a lot of people. You have to explain to them, like, there's not a comparison to a modern SPL driver and those old school things. Now, what was even a competition woofer back in the day? I like to give people a experience versus to the stroker. The stroker has a legendary phenomenon that goes around the Cerwin Vega stroker, right?
Yeah.
Well, all reality, man, if you take tomatoes for tomatoes, like it compares to a modern mid-range driver now. Like a modern mid-range reclonable subwoofer is like what you're going to get the output of a stroker. So, but you can't take apples to apples because one came out in 1992, though. You know what I mean? So it's not really the same thing.
Well, with these MTXs, they were actually more geared towards sealed boxes. If you run the specs on them, it's more of a sealed enclosure type of woofer. That's what I have mine in, and it gets up pretty good.
Yeah, I like Rob's comment right there, wherever he was saying.
When are we going to see some new shit from
Rockford
Rockford?
Fosgate
You know,
didn't really
they did
put
that
too much
jackhammer
innovation
install.
in recently.
They pulled the sub
in
out.
that kid's car, and his like motor, like his like car barely ran. They
And
put this
they
giant
took the-
fucking system in it, and then like
They took
here's
the
your
sub
car,
back
it
out.
still doesn't run right. But it has
Yeah,
this
Pimp
big
My
ass
Ride was
motor.
notorious for that. They would never fix like the oil leak, but they would throw in 15 subwoofers and a TV and a spinning tray in the back. But
Yeah. Here's your portable platform.
it was
maker.
cool at the time. If you didn't watch Pimp My Ride, I don't know what you were doing. You're living under a rock. You know what I mean. You
Yeah,
don't watch
for crib.
television. You
Pimp
know,
My Ride and cribs, dude.
And I'm familiar at Hi-Fi with the Earthquake movie and all that stuff. I was thinking that stroker for car audio oriented stuff. Yeah, my dad went from Cerwin Vega to Crossfire, then to Rockford as like a rev thing. So like they actually I grew up technically first with Cerwin Vega. Like my dad's. But like my earliest memories, my dad had a first-gen square body Pathfinder with 2 Cerwin Vega 12s and a Zapco amp, and and then those Cerwin Vega 12s went to my mom's Monte Carlo when she bought a new '96 Monte Carlo.
wow.
But
Those Zapco amps were pretty nice back then too.
my dad loves them and all that
I
stuff.
thought it was pretty cool.
I've had a couple Zapco 4 channels. I didn't like the way they sounded.
Really? Oh no. Well, it's all hearsay then. See, just like Kicker sucks. My cousin's brother told me that. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be the models I had, stuff like that. I don't know, but as far as the ones I had, it kind
Didn't
of let
like
me
them.
down. Now,
Wow.
I
that,
literally,
it could,
I saw a customer the other day. They asked to see my build, and they're like, "Are those kickers?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna freaking strangle you." That thought went through my head, but I'm like, well, it's one of those, the old guys who just think kicker is just a sub. Like every
Right,
sub is
yeah.
kicker.
you got kickers, man. You got bass.
Yeah.
But that's every single sub you hear. Like my neighbor, he goes, "Yo, I just got some kickers in my car." And I'm like, "Cool, what you get?" And he showed me his car, and it was like some DS18 in a prefab box. I'm like, "Those aren't kickers."
Yeah. Have you seen DS18's new subs though?
Yeah, they're pretty badass.
amazing. Yeah, they look amazing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind trying some. They have some Hooligan 18. Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. We had a DS18 appreciation lunch thing at my distributor, and I don't even know. They didn't turn out to, but they have an 18 that's coming out of Hooligan.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Their own tool basket and all that. So,
It looks pretty beefy.
dude, those things are amazing. That's the 15s, and then you have the big Neo monsters that they sell. Those things are pretty cool. Yeah.
I had a conversation with somebody about DS18 today, and I was telling to him, and they agreed completely. Like, hey, like that's one of those companies. Like, as long as you avoid their entry level product, they make some pretty freaking insane stuff, dude.
Really good stuff.
Anything else?
Right. What
I'm not
Seth
gonna
have?
go put a candy amp in my car.
I'm gonna leave.
An
What
HO2
15s
is
does
an
he
amazing
have?
amp. The new
Hooligan. He has a Hooligan.
Wait. Yeah, their new Korean amp.
somebody buy that amp from Hi-Fi, he'll make you a great deal on it. He's been trying to sell it for like a year and a half. Like 54 years he's been trying to sell that amplifier.
Before he was born, he's trying to sell
Yeah, exactly.
2K.
Yeah.
The new ones?
He's had it for sale for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Was that the C2K? Let's see what that is.
It's a good amplifier. I'm talking smack.
HO, or the KO. HKO.
Those amps are good amps.
Their new line of amps, they're like smaller footprint. They put a bunch of power out. I think the 8K did like over 11K at headphones.
I saw a buddy of mine today, Passion at Sound Sensations. He did the T1005 channel in a side by side, and did it on a JLTW3, and then I forgot what front soundstage, and it sounded freaking amazing. I was like, this isn't a freaking sidekick thing right now. I was like, this is blowing my mind. The T1000, dude, it was only like this big, dude, and he had it like tucked up. Had it tucked up in the footwell, and it was just the amount of sound that thing put out blew my mind.
So DJ, if you have a car, you have a system, when is the best time to start upgrading your alternator applications?
Immediately.
Immediately. So the first thing you do?
That's the first thing you should do is upgrade your alternator, because the vehicle is only designed for the vehicle's appliances plus like 10%. That's all it's designed for.
10%. And people think we're really pushing it, huh?
And people think adding batteries is just, I'm going to add 10 million batteries to my system. It's going to be holding it just fine. Yes. And no, because you're going to dip down the battery voltage and you're on 11 volts. Your alternator can't keep all that charged up. So immediately do upgraded alternator. Like I run a DC Audio 5.0K, on a single 12. Granted, it's in a sealed box, so it probably has some crazy rise to it.
Right.
But on 2 AGMs on my alternator, on a 300 amp alternator, I'm holding 14.5.
Because you can feed the amperage you're pulling out of it, and I'd like to make a point real quick and see what you think on this. A lot of people, when they see the budget amplifiers, and we'll say, for instance, a full bridge amplifier, for example, since we know we'll use an MD5K or whatever, or 8K, for example. These guys don't realize they're seeing the watt number there, but they're not looking at the extra cost that it actually is going to take, even buying an inefficient amplifier, what it's going to take to actually properly feed that out of the box versus saving the money and buying something more efficient. If what you were saying, like how you hold voltage, so let's say, for instance, you said you have like a 390 or something like that. What was it?
No, it's a 300.
So we can safely say you can probably pull about 300 amps of current, around 3,000 watts on paper, before you start dipping into your battery reserve. And a lot of people, they don't think about, they need to be matching. If you're pulling out more voltage and you're putting into your, like, more amperage and you're feeding into it, you're going to be at a deficit. Am I correct or no? And what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, your batteries essentially do nothing until your alternator runs out of current. So if your alternator is 300 amps and you're pulling 250 amps, your batteries aren't doing anything.
Right. That makes sense, because, as long as you're feeding it, you're not going to dip into your reserve. And that's kind of what batteries are.
You're right on that one.
Well, they're a lot more than just reserve now, because these lithium banks provide so much output. You can't just straight up call them reserve anymore, I don't think. I mean, yes, they are. That's like essentially what they are is reserve, but they do so much more now,
And that's
right, with the discharge. Yeah.
Like say like a CMAX bank, you can pull so much current from those, and they recharge so quick.
Well, lithium batteries are the number one cause right now of alternator warranties. It's the number one cause.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, let's dive deep into that, because I was having issues with the lithium switch with the alternator. That might have been with the stock regulator or something like that, and that's kind of what Tom was telling me.
I left my charger at the shop, and
with lithium batteries, a car is a 12-volt car, 12-volt application, meaning from like 13.8 to 14.4 is all you should really be doing with a vehicle. People want to run, the Yinglongs or the C-Max and run them at 15.5. Well, the regulator can't support that. If they have a Chrysler product, the regulator's inside the vehicle, like in the computer, so they can't adjust that and have to get an external regulator. Then they don't hook it up right. Then it blows up the alternator. So what a lot of people do is they get this little regulator right here is a 4-pin GM regulator, an IN603. And if you put this regulator in with one diode, you get like 15.2 out of it, and with 2 diodes, you get like 15.5 out of it. But that's what most people do. But the problem is they're taking this regulator, putting it in their alternator, taking the factory plug, not plugging it in, so you're having a check engine light, a check battery light, always lights on the dash, and the cars get confused, and the car's confused by itself. It doesn't know what to do.
Jeez, that's kind of like what I understood, because right now I just threw in a AGM in between the lithium so it can sense the battery there.
Yep.
But I'm going to put a battery, not a battery delete, but a battery isolator, so when it's off, they won't pull off each other. So, but I try to daily it as it is sitting right now, so that won't hurt the batteries.
Nice. Well, we got you. Would you want to give us? We got quite a few people watching actually, which is pretty cool and being proactive. But do you want to give us a crash course on an alternator and how it works? Can you think is that something you can do or no?
So a crash course on all. Prop here. Get this one out too.
He's prepared.
So this one is kind of just a mess put together. And get this. Some other parts here. Oh shit. Brush holder. So basically you have your front case, which this is not together. Then you have your rotor, which is here. This goes around your stator, which goes to your rectifier, which your rectifier holds your brushes, brush holder, assembly, and your regulator, which sits right about there. Brush holder sits in the middle of here too. And everything just goes together like that. So you basically have, like I said, your front case, your rotor, your stator, back case, rectifier, brush holder, regulator, all screwed together. You know, pretty simple. This is on a traditional Denso hairpin alternator. If I go into detail on how it all works together, it takes me days to explain it to you.
Right. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Sick.
So that's pretty simple to replace for the rectifier or the voltage regulator. That little black thing in the middle. That's pretty easy to get to.
Yeah, this is pretty easy to get to. Most vehicles have a little clip like the 4-pin. The 2-pin has it. Certain 2-pins. It's just a little clip. You unsolder that, unbolt it, pulls right out. Put the new one in, solder it back up, bolts back in, and it's done.
Jeez.
Awesome.
Sorry, guys,
wow.
my computer died.
Computer died.
It looks better on the phone.
Yeah, it does. It looks good. What's that? iPhone 14?
I got
the Note 20.
He's actually frozen now. Yeah, you're frozen now,
like
Casey.
50,000 cameras on the
He's
back.
like, looks good.
This is a 12, iPhone 12.
There it goes.
I think.
There you go.
Pro? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not getting a new phone until this iPhone 10 dies, because I still got my 7, and it just sits there, and I use it to listen to audiobooks, and it still hasn't went bad. The battery's okay, and they're like, oh, buy another $1,000 cell phone. Why? What's wrong with this one?
Yeah, it's like mine works right now. Mine gets a crappy battery life now, but it's funny because I was having dinner with Cigar Joe last night, and he was trying to flex on me because his phone has a like the stylus and all that stuff. He's like, yeah, you need a new phone and all that stuff. I'm like, Joe, I'm not doing it until this thing dies or I shatter the crap out of it. Okay, like at that point, I will consider upgrading. Not until
right. You don't need to fix it till it's broken. Throw some tape on it. Be all right. I think Casey's having some problems here.
Yeah, probably so. It's okay though. So taking I don't think we got into it. So how did you end up getting the job at Ohio Generators, man? How did that plan fall into the cards?
I pretty much asked Tom to order parts, which he doesn't sell parts to anybody. But I already had a 3D model that I designed of my own alternator case, and I had everything to put together. I just didn't have the way to buy the parts. And he said, "Yeah, I'll sell you some parts." Which he never sells parts to anybody, but I have everything, situated together. And I went down there, and pretty much how it went was he's like, you seem like you know what you're talking about. And I said, yeah, I'm pretty knowledgeable about it. And he goes, how far are you? I said, I'm 3 hours away. And I asked him, I'll be willing to come here 3 days a week, to help you, to work with you. He goes, come on in.
Sick. Awesome. I hope it brings great things for you, man. It's a cool thing to get into, man, and I think it's a dying art form, and that's why I think all these the third-party people that do the high output alternators do so well is because there's a large demand for it, and especially the people that are carrying on the knowledge on keeping these things going. Because you're not doing brand new cars every day. You're doing what's the average? What do you think the average year of alternator you're doing? A whole lot of Tahoe stuff, I'm assuming.
A lot of Chevys. The Chevy is a number one.
Yeah, it's number
is
one.
the number one
It's all
alternator.
for me.
Yeah.
The 14007, the 14009 part numbers, which are small case, like for 5.3, 4.8, 6.0, 6.2, 5.7. The small case and the large case ones, those are the most common ones, easily, probably 25, 30 a week.
Wow.
We sell those.
That's
A company like MechMan, they're huge with everybody. They probably sell hundreds a week.
That's insane.
I've never heard anything negative about Ohio Gin, and the guys that run it always have like really good things to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm just
I
on
say
the
that too.
other side of the country, so it's like, I mean,
yeah, because we there's some tricks that Tom does
really?
that nobody else does, and if he sees something that's copying and he knows it's his, it's his design, but it's very, very, some tricks that he does are very, very his tricks only that nobody can copy, I guess you'd say.
Right, you can't
Interesting.
patent skills sometimes, you know what I mean?
Right.
Even though they might try to replicate it, is it the same, And there's other things that people just can't realize, you know what I mean? Because they're not him, they haven't been doing it as long and seen as much as he has seen, because experience is worth so much more than anything else.
That's what excited. You were saying you had your buddy coming off from Ohio. We're like, effing sweet, yeah. No, that's cool, man. I'm glad to have you on. We got about 15 minutes or 14 minutes left. It's been so taken in. Where do you foresee it going from there? Do you have any goals, aspirations to continue to grow with them, or where do you foresee it going? Do you have future build going to grow? You're going to do more SQ oriented stuff? What's up with that, man?
Well, honestly speaking, Ohio Generator is great. If it wasn't 3 hours away, that's what sets me back. And I'm trying to find a new vehicle here, but it's kind of the budget's here, and I'm looking for vehicles that are budget here.
Yeah.
Used cars are expensive right now. Any
you
of
can
them.
get a Prius for pretty cheap though, like an old Prius.
Yeah, you need like a Geo Metro, bro. Great
Yeah.
on gas.
A Fit.
A
My
Honda
Jeep
Fit, yes.
gets like 2 miles a gallon, so it's terrible.
I've been talking about the people lately. So I was dailying my V10 Excursion for a year, right? And I was spending $200 a week in fuel to go to work. They started dailying this 07 Civic. I put $107 or $104, something like that, in the whole month. I'm like, it's like a pay raise just getting something that's cheaper on gas.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There's a difference. It's nuts, man.
You could fit the whole Civic inside your gas tank.
I could park this. Yeah, I could park the Civic inside the Excursion with the C-pillar wall still. Actually, it just kind of make the doors bigger.
It's ignorant.
That's crazy.
Bobby B wants to know what your next video is, Andy.
What my next video, well, it was going to be the CXA 1800.1, but as you can see, I couldn't even get the certified rating because my voltage was dropping down to about 12.1 on my power supply. So in order to test that, I'm going to have to literally hook it up to my Eclipse and have Kayla rev the engine so my voltage is perfect. And literally do the filming and the testing out there, anything over 1,000 watts to get the 14.4 rating. You know what I mean? Because not every amp does their certified rating at 12 volts. They got to get the 14.4. And if it does it at 12 volts, it's just going to do even more at 14, unless they're breaking physics somehow. So I want to make sure I get the certified ratings on all the amps, because I tried doing that with another amp with a smaller power supply, and then that's what made me want to make. Does it take power to make power? Because I was like, man, there's no way this amp doesn't do certified. It's kicker. Come on. Threw it on a right power supply. Boom. Got the certified rating. So the next video is going to be from my buddy Keenan Brandon. He's actually a Best Buy tech up in Monroeville. And I was going through Marketplace like you, Scott, and I seen this DX 400.4 for $70. And I'm like, that's not bad. Let me see. Oh, Irwin. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. I know that guy. Hey, can I test that amp? He's like, yeah, dude, that'd be awesome. I got the burst sheet with it and everything. I'm like, dude, just bring it over. Let's do it. So that's going to be the next one.
Is that the Impulse amp? Yeah.
I have that one too. That's where I got on auction. All of my amphitheaters from auction too. More people were jumping on there finally. So I'm not saying anything anymore. No.
Yeah, dude, don't do it.
Nope,
You'd be like
nope.
Big D. You're gonna be driving the prices on all these.
Yeah,
things.
I swear he's buying them from there.
Probably.
Says
My
Big
brother
Dummy
makes a
on
killing,
the email.
dude.
No.
Casey, didn't Cameron tell you? My brother has like 18 Game Boys. He has like an addiction with Goodwill auctions. Okay, like I don't know why he keeps
I don't
buying.
know how he gets this stuff though. Every time I'm on a Goodwill auction, it's like grandma's panties. And he's bringing home Game Boys just like left and right, dude.
Rocking them, dude. He's got a stack of them. Dave, you have a good weekend too, man.
Heck yeah. I was surprised that kicker amp worked because, like I said, it was fused with a 40 amp fuse. Just needs a 20. So, bigger fuse, more power.
More power.
Yeah.
More power, babe.
And then when I turned it on, it was making all kinds of noise when I was like switching to crossovers or not playing any music. I'm like, oh no, it's a dud. And just let it warm up, and then it totally went away. I could switch to crossovers. It was good. I think it just wasn't
Old
powered
stuff.
for years.
Dude, I got this amp, this T404 from our buddy Christopher. That it was dead. He said he got it. It was blown when he got it. Whatever. It was like I traded him, like I said, 6.5s for it because it was dead. And I just wanted it for pretty much wall art, right? Well, that's when I go back to that experience we're talking about with Drew Jones, where I bought that 1 Tear amp that lasted like 3 songs or whatever, and it died. So I'm like, all right, I got the T404. It's supposed to be blown. Let's hook it up. Hooked it up, nothing. It had no. I had 2 channels. I had like this terrible screeching static sound out of it. 2 channels, nothing came out of it. Swear to God on my life, ask Casey. I left it in the truck overnight, hooked up to power, everything. Because after it was late when the Tear amp died. I threw that in right when I got home. Yeah. And I was like, I came out to work the next day, and the amp worked perfectly fine. All 4 channels were good and everything.
It didn't even go back out.
Sounded great.
And people say there isn't a
God. It had rust
Come
on it. Yeah, it had rust on it and everything, dude. It was corrosion, everything. It was bad. It worked perfect.
So is it the old T404 or the newer style, like the black
gray
one,
T404, the gray ones,
the big gray one?
Yeah.
That's the ones with like a fuse. Don't they have a fuse within the power line that you can like literally see? Is it those ones or no? That's a different.
No, this is a 404 and it's got like 120 amps of fusing for 400 watts or whatever. Yes, the one I gave Big D the smaller one, the 302 that he did, and did like 3 times the rated power or whatever.
Do you remember that? I had one of those amps.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
On 13.
I sold him a T1504, which we've not seen a dyno video on yet, but sold him that one, and I was like, hey, I got 2 more amps. I'll throw one in for free. Like, I appreciate you and all the stuff you do. So you do the 302, and it's like literally. As Casey, I knew anything I put on that amp bumped. Okay, like it's beat on anything I put on it, and then they're doing 3 times the power on it.
You almost clamp more than your 4K.
That's crazy.
Probably would clamp more than my 4K.
Not a cheater amp at all,
No,
right.
What was I doing with the T302?
I put it on everything.
13, Andy, on about 2 years ago.
I had it on the Stroker 15. I had it on the Stroker 15. I had it on the Strike 15. I had it on a VC210, a pair of Punch 10s, a Shallow. I had it on all kinds of stuff, and it just gave it the beans on everything. I thought I was clipping it to death, but I guess I was not. Yeah, probably with both.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Mine wasn't bad. I got that 404, which I didn't have a high expectation to begin with, which wasn't saying anything bad. I'm not saying anything bad about tearing us, but what killed mine was the 5 volt input into it, like the 5 volt pre-out, because it rated at 2.
That's what I don't understand. Why is it that some amplifiers cannot take a high pre-out voltage?
So when you're taking, all right, so hear me out, Andy. When you hear the amplifier, right? What does the amplifier mean? It means you're amplifying something, right? So a lot of people don't realize. And especially on full bridge amplifiers, it's like almost home style transistor. It's like a power. It's like a power inverter more than anything. Like if you're like for 110. So when you're taking and you're going up on your gain also, so you're matching your input voltage to your real voltage of your amplifier. So what it has to do is it has to multiply the crap out of that signal, and it's used to, or those are made to do it because it's made for the low input voltage. When you're taking
right.
When you're cramming the high voltage into it. So let's say, for instance, on that one, the 5 volt into it, which is my rated, is actually 5 volt plus. Really, it's actually about 6 before it actually starts clipping the signal.
Wow.
But it's not a big deal. There's other radios that do it. But
yeah,
my gain, it was like as the slightest I could ever touch it with it. That was the amp on full blast, because it's already, the chipset in it and the way it's set up with this potentiometers and like that. It's just meant for that range. And I'm not trying to just ramble on about it, but yeah. Right. So you're actually multiplying your input voltage to match your rail voltage in your amplifier, especially on full bridge. It gets a little different.
Wow. Yeah, I was just wondering because like how Tear amps were so low on the pre-out voltage, and then there's kicker.
But that's what they make them for overseas, though. Right. 20. Bill made sure to change me to 20. He said he didn't say 40. He said 20, but I thought he said 40. But no, yeah, it's just one of those things. I think it's got more to do with there's gonna be budget cuts anywhere, so that's the reason they obviously have hired more expensive amplifiers that can handle the higher voltage pre-out and all that stuff also. But yeah, you're multiplying your input voltage also to your rail voltage, which is kind of, again, a different thing in a full bridge amplifier. I don't know the exact way it works, but on a D and AV and A and all that stuff, it's how it works.
That's crazy. So what about your side jack, your power hogs? What do they usually take up to, like 8 volts or 10 volts or something like that?
Already a 6-volt pre-out max, yeah, really.
Okay, nice.
Yes,
yeah, because that's really what you're all going. That's what you're going to see without, putting.
Yeah,
when
you say 6-volt, it can do in the 6s. Like I wouldn't push 7, but like if you're doing 16.5-volt pre-out, but and it does. And I don't know off the top of my head what the protection circuitry does. It does have a high voltage pre-output, a high voltage input protection circuitry, and a high voltage cutoff, so it cuts off at 16.2 also on
That's perfect.
voltage.
Yeah, you want that safety factor, you know what I mean? It's better to pay for that ahead of time than buying another amp. So
yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things too, though. Now there is a gain going to the higher voltages on our amplifiers, but at the same token, like you're not, for the longevity and the higher wear that it puts on the amplifier, we don't really recommend it. You're not going to see a huge difference at 15 volts in between 16, and then you're just like wiring in the dirt. It doesn't really make that much more power going to a half ohm load. Now it depends on your setup, as before mentioned, like if you're in a rise and what you're going for, if you're burping, stuff like that. But
yeah,
the wired at 1, be safe, man. I'm liking my stuff. I have my 75 wired at 1 right now. I can literally play it the entire day long, all day, every day, with no fan on it, no nothing, and it doesn't overheat. And
that's what you want.
When I was at 0.67, I had to have them fannies on it, but those fannies were needed. Yeah.
Probably seeing that 1 ohm reactive a lot, you know what I mean? So,
probably. And I'm probably rising to the moon wired. I have 6 subs wired at 1. Yeah, I'm probably rising to God. I haven't put the AMM one on it, but to the moon more than likely.
It's still doing 55s, 56s, so hey.
On musics. But, I'm going to shrink the board down. Old Cigar Joe's trying to talk me, and he's got a flat wall that would pop right in there, and they keep trying to tempt me to take the 4th order out and put the flat wall in.
B pillar?
C. I would still say C. Yeah, but I would also gain like a whole bed of cargo area in the back of my truck from putting a flat wall in.
See, that would be something to learn, because obviously with the B pillar compared to a flat wall and a 4th order, 6th order bandpass, the flat wall is going to be louder, less bandwidth, most likely. With the C pillar, you got a bigger cabin area. Is that flat wall really going to be as
effective
loud?
On higher output?
Right.
Do you want to cut out $1,000 in birch right now to find out?
Nope, not worth it. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy.
That's my thing. They're all like, dude, it's gonna be more output. I'm like, I just spent $1,000 in birch, bro. Like, I don't really want to cut it yet.
It's almost like you need more loading anyway, because you have a C pillar, because you have such a big cabin to fill, and you're not really rectifying the air through the vehicle as you would in a trunk with the sub firing back or the port firing back with loading, all that kind of fun stuff. That's just my intuition on it.
The 4th order is crazy in it though. Like, if you do like 35 to 55 hertz, sealed is nasty in it. Like it is like, it makes you uncomfortable. But like if you want to play really below 28 hertz, it's got to be windows down or a door open or something like that. But like it still plays it, but you have like no authority, and it's kind of crazy. But I'm enjoying it right now. I'm not gonna mess with it. But I'm not trying to take up much time with me. We got like 2 minutes left with DJ. We got Andy. What's up, guys? What you got going on with you, man? So you're trying to find a whip? Got that going on? Doing some alternators? You doing any other projects going on? Anything like that?
No, I'm actually looking on your website here, looking at your amps here.
Oh, nice. Thank you. We got a shipment of them that came in, and I've got to put all the stuff on the website. But it's a whole lot of work that I do. Get all the specs, the measurements, the weights for shipping weights and all that stuff. It's just going to be a whole nice week of stuff. They're adding like 6-7 models, something like that. But
nice. Now, are you the sole owner of this? We have business partners. It's technically 4 of us, and actually it's a whole team of people. They have a separate thing that they do, a shop. It's Power Hog Installations. It's going to go on the website too. It's a whole network, man, of great people. That's good. Awesome. That's good.
This dude right here that's in the chat right here, this is actually like our lead install guy right here, and there's a guy that does enclosures there. And we got some more stuff coming. Really, as far as I'm not trying to sit here and take it. We got a guest here, but as far as if we need to ask, what we're going to see is we got full range 1500 and 2500, something like that. Full range 2-channel amplifiers came out. They're Class D. They actually sound amazing too. And then we've got the new revision on the 4-channel coming out. They're all launch edition amps. So a 2K, a 4K, 5500, 7500, or 4-channel, and then the full range amps. And then so we got those. It's going to come in. I literally just have to put them on the website on those. And then next is going to be our mid-range drivers. We're going to take off on the Predator line, the 6.5s and the 8s, and then after we get the mid-range line going, it's going to be the revision on the V2 drivers on subwoofers, and then expanding the sizes on subwoofers because it's 15s only right now.
Yeah, I'm looking on your website. I see the Hog 2. I've
That's
never
what I've got
seen
right
a
now.
motor like that.
I've got them, and that's why I have 6 of them in my truck right now. I had the Hog 3s before on 2 7500s. I've got the Hog 2s on 1 7500 right now, and I freaking love them, dude. They sound amazing.
Now, is that a built-in USA sub?
They're not. We have a build facility overseas, but they are. We have them tailored to us, and we have an audio engineer and a bunch of other stuff.
Is it? And so I've never seen a motor quite like that. Very interesting.
Yeah,
we
he's
got
some
Casey
cool
back.
stuff there. Heck
There's
yeah.
a lot of stuff in the pan too. We got Casey. You're back in the chat at the end.
Sorry, guys. My phone
So
died,
DJ,
too.
what's the craziest thing you've seen while working at Ohio Gen? What's the craziest thing you've seen come in that you had to work on or something like that, or a story?
Well, the craziest thing would be just learning about the smallest things like bearings. Cheap bearings make a big difference in output. Like a standard $3 bearing versus a $20 bearing, you get 20 more amps output just by bearings.
Wow,
Listen more
less
than-
resistance or
No,
something
like amp. Like so, if you have a 300 amp alternator with $3 bearings in it, you swap no parts out besides the bearings to $20 bearings, 320 amps. Just the bearings are
Wow.
incredible. And then plus the other couple other tricks and stuff. It's a couple other tricks and stuff with the stators and all that, and the rectifiers. You can have 20, 30 amps extra just from the tricks that he does, which is incredible.
Wow.
I would have never guessed, something that small would make a difference.
That's
Sick.
cool. Alternators are definitely not an easy topic. It's not just a subwoofer. It's not. I mean, even amplifiers are tricky when you actually get down to it. But an alternator, 3-phase. After that, I don't know what you're talking about.
I think it's all complex, guys. I mean, like even subwoofers can be tricky, man. Like there's you get into motor efficiency and throw and X-Max and moving mass and all those things, and that's the reason we have
Speaker
experts
go
for this
boom.
stuff. It just goes, it makes low notes. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the reason I like having people on. I appreciate your time, DJ, and I'm glad Casey came in here to wrap it up. Taking in.
Yeah.
I was glad to pick your brain for a minute and meet you, man. It's a cool experience. I appreciate your time, dude. Definitely have you on
Appreciate
again.
Yeah.
I think he might be a good contender at scrapyard baseboards too. It might be something you're into.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, we'll have to have you on again for sure, DJ.
We
Yeah,
should
you
do
did
a
good.
tournament.
Would it be cheating? Because I do auctions too. I'm an auctioneer, so I can get stuff really cheap that nobody else can get, and I can buy it for myself. Would that
Well,
be
it
cheating?
has to be on Facebook Marketplace.
Facebook Marketplace.
No, whatever those other ones are.
Okay.
Just Facebook Marketplace. You'll see some crazy stuff, man. You'll see stuff that's overpriced, but man, we've been finding some pretty decent stuff and going head to head.
We've got a guest for next week, but the week after that, I think we'll do it. So what we do is we give like a budget. Let's say you have $1,000. You've got to do 3 different builds on Facebook Marketplace. You got to get a sub box and amp. You got to get a SUV, a trunk, and a shallow subwoofer setup. Now you get $1,000 each one, and we kind of see who does the best ones can come up with it, and we have a judge on normally.
Heck yeah.
Cool.
It's fun.
But cool, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. That's Rolling Thunder episode 15. We've got our guest DJ from Ohio Generator, man. I appreciate your time. It's nice to meet you, man. Hope everyone has a fantastic weekend and a good Friday. 14.4 volt talk is out. Anybody else got anything to wrap it up before we hit this end broadcast button?
Just 14.4 talk for the win. That's all.
They were
Thanks for
asking to see
watching,
your. They
guys.
were asking to see your shirt like the multiple times, by the way.
Oh, the Team
There you
SP
go.
Loud. Oh,
There
yeah,
you
my
go.
bad.
All right.
But cool,
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks
your
for
time,
having
guys.
me on, guys. I'll see you guys next time.
Later, guys.